Today on Forbes, 10 Shark Tank companies caught on the front lines of Trump's trade war. Donnie McCall drove into Shark Tank in 2012 with a pickup truck and a dream. He wanted $100,000 for 10% of Invisirack, a collapsible cargo rack aimed at tradespeople. The Sharks liked what they saw, but hated the high production costs that came with McCall's decision to make his product in his hometown of Sparta, North Carolina. McCall said his revenue was about $50,000 in the first year, at a landed cost of $250 per unit. Kevin O'Leary pushed McCall to move manufacturing overseas, saying it would cut expenses nearly in half and open the doors for working with distributors. O'Leary suggested, quote, "Let's just say that a manufacturer in Asia could make that for $150. That puts you in business right there, my friend." McCall didn't budge. He was committed to creating jobs in the US and believed customers would pay more for American-made quality. The Sharks weren't convinced. None made an offer. Barbara Corcoran said McCall was too resistant and close-minded to be a good partner. O'Leary told him he wasn't willing to do what it takes. Robert Herjavec, whose father worked in a factory, said he respected McCall's values but couldn't back a business that ignored global realities. Even Mark Cuban, who admired the mission, said the numbers just didn't work without going offshore. For years, the Sharks, just like most private equity firms, advised entrepreneurs to move manufacturing overseas to save money. It was good advice. Lower costs overseas boosted profits and gave consumers cheaper goods. Prices for products like clothing dropped roughly 10% in the decade after China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, according to a 2017 Federal Reserve Bank of New York study. As long as supply chains ran smoothly, the strategy was a recipe for growth and profits. Then the COVID-19 pandemic exposed the risks of relying on distant factories as the world and global commerce temporarily shut down. Now, those risks are front and center again, only this time they are self-inflicted by President Trump's ham-handed and chaotic tariff plan. To see how small businesses are responding, Forbes reached out to 10 Shark Tank entrepreneurs across multiple industries, along with each of their celebrity sharks. Only 2 sharks returned our calls directly addressing the effect of tariffs. Mark Cuban says he's surveying all his portfolio companies and looking for ways to shift production back to the US, pointing to Guardian Bikes, a company in which he invested $500,000 for 15% back on Shark Tank in 2017, as one that already does. Cuban says, quote, "All of them that sell products that require a mold of any type have been impacted." Cuban had already earlier made his thoughts clear about tariffs just after Trump's so-called Liberation Day on social media site Blue Sky, saying, quote, "If the new tariffs stay in place for multiple years and are enforced and inflationary, and DOGE continues to cut and fire, we will be in a far worse situation than 2008. Fellow shark Damon John adds that while every business is different, they're all trying to make sense of the broader picture while, quote, "waiting and praying for a return to normalcy." John says his companies are paying close attention not just to tariffs, but to the value of the dollar, inflation, and how shifting consumer habits might ripple through their markets. Most of the business owners say they're in crisis mode, blindsided by rising costs and rules that can change as fast as the president can post to his Truth Social account. Several say manufacturing in China wasn't a choice, it was the only option. Many apparel operations, including companies like NYC sock maker Bombas, which was backed by Damon John in 2014 and has had lifetime revenues in excess of $1 billion, contend producing in the US was either logistically impossible or would make their products too expensive to sell. Few had a plan for dealing with the tariffs, which are as high as 145% for goods coming from China. Most are just trying to hang on and hoping for a resolution sooner rather than later. Some say they'll stop selling certain products altogether. Others are already weighing what they see as inevitable if nothing changes, shutting down and walking away from the business they built. For full coverage and to read about how 10 different Shark Tank companies are managing the tariff pressures, check out Brandon Kokoden's piece on forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows from Forbes. Thanks for tuning in.